Welcome explorers, glad to see you back for another walk. I'm Alistair.
And I'm Douglas, and we are the Highland Hikers. So it's good to see you all back again today. We've got a slightly different walk planned for this afternoon. Not a particularly long walk, but hopefully it'll be a wee bit more interesting, perhaps, given what we've got planned. Do you want to let them know what we're doing, Alistair?
Yeah, so we are at the Dams to Darnley kind of country park. As you've seen from our earlier videos, Douglas is kind of restricted to East Renfrewshire and I'm stuck in Glasgow City just now. So this country park basically straddles both council areas. So I'm starting down at the Nits Hill Road end of this country park, quite next to the Darnley tree. A wee quick interesting fact about that, it's apparently where Mary Queen of Scots nursed her sick husband way back in like the 1500s, so that tree has been there for that length of time. We're talking 500 years, but I'm starting down at this end. And Douglas, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm up next to Balgray Reservoir, just next to the train line that runs sort of between Barrhead and Newton Mearns. So I'm starting up here. It's a bit more open up here, definitely a bit windier, I think, by the sounds of it, compared to, I think you're probably a bit more sheltered down there. But yeah, I think they're planning to do some regeneration of the country park up here. I think they're putting in a visitor centre and also building a train station here as well to hopefully open up the park to more visitors.
Yeah, interesting. That'll probably make things a wee bit better. But this end, there's not really any visitor access at this point. You've got to park up maybe local streets and just kind of walk in from the main road. And there is a big signpost at the front just to say where you're going. But when you come in here, you're basically following the Brockburn all the way up, and I think the first kind of sign I'll see is the Walkmill Glen Reservoir. I think we'll kind of get out about there, and we'll probably meet up shortly about there. So Douglas is kind of coming from that end, I'm going from this end, and we're going to kind of meet in the middle, I think, and see how that goes.
Yeah, I think we've got maybe about 3 kilometres each till we get to meet up, and then we'll obviously turn back and head to our respective starting point. So yeah, pretty short walk, so shouldn't take us too long to meet each other. So should we get on with this?
Yeah, just remember, Douglas, it's not a race, okay?
No, definitely not. Not in any rush today, and stop and take a few photos and see some of the hopefully interesting sights along the way.
Yep. Excellent, so we'll see you all shortly in our next few clips, and Douglas, I will see you soon.
Yep, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. I think from a few of my previous videos you'll probably appreciate that I love a good Rune, I love a good bit of history. So when I get to incorporate that into a walk, it's just always makes my day. And as you kind of come up the main road, and you have to kind of come off the kind of part at the back, the path that takes you through the woods, then you kind of reach this old ruin, and it looks like it's been like a big old kind of 2-storey house. It's a nice big bay window down at that end. Then behind the camera here is a bit more kind of square. Clearly doesn't have any big windows, maybe up on the second floor, but there's really not much left of this thing. But I don't even really know much about it. Just kind of makes you kind of spark the imagination a bit as to who probably lived here and what actually happened and how they lived their lives. So it's probably been a pretty big house for its time. You can see just kind of round about up here, roughly where the kind of first floor would have been, and it's pretty high ceilings, so I imagine it would have been a fairly affluent house when it was in its when it was being in use anyway. So I'm going to head on from here. I know there's another kind of wee old part of the reservoir that I'm interested in seeing. That's a wee bit further up the road, so we'll get up there pretty quickly now.
So the reservoirs around here were built back in 1847 as part of a scheme to supply the south side of Glasgow with drinking water. That was constructed not long before actually Loch Katrine, which kind of supplies most of the northern side of Glasgow. You should be able to see behind me on the reservoir itself there's a small building there. That's known as a drawing off tower, which is used to draw water from the reservoir and feed it down to the lower reservoirs before that then actually feeds down into the pipework and through to Glasgow itself. So apparently that one there is one of the oldest known structures like that in Scotland, so quite a wee interesting bit of architecture to point out.
So just as you come up the road and you get towards the reservoir, which is just above us here, you kind of come to this, which is a self-activating sluice. And if you have a look in these windows here, you can actually see where the water would have come through from the reservoir. And basically underneath here, it might be kind of hard to make out in the video, but this is covered in huge wooden kind of blocks. There's big pools of water under here, and just behind the camera there's a part where the water would have flown out and met the actual river going down, but it's no longer in use. It hasn't been for quite some time. It's kind of eerie just looking down there and just seeing what looks like big puddles of water, wondering kind of how deep they are. But inside there it's a bit kind of creepy as well, but it's been kind of fairly looked after. I've seen lots of older photos of this where the kind of vegetation's grown over the top and the railing at the top there wasn't put in place. But you know, people have clearly made an effort in clearing that away and kind of looking after it, and it's quite interesting. I quite enjoy seeing that. So I'll head from here and hopefully meet up with Douglas just shortly up the hill.
I found him! He's just down there! Bright orange jacket on. Well, that is us managed to make our rendezvous point. You can see the railway viaduct just behind us, which is the Neilston line coming out of Glasgow, and it pretty much bisects the Dams to Darnley Country Park. And I've met Alistair.
Yep, and it's I had my hat off for a wee bit coming up the road there, and I've had to stick it back on because the wind is now blowing a gale up here, and you'll probably be able to hear it a wee bit, I'm sure, but it's getting a bit chilly. I was getting nice and warmed up as well, but it's quite interesting coming up there. You'll have seen the self-activating sluice that I filmed earlier, which is part of the reservoir systems up here. It was built by the Gorbals Gravitation Water Company.
It's quite the mouthful.
Yes, it is. Back in 1847 to 1848.
Yeah, it's certainly been quite interesting. As you say, I've had wind the whole time during this walk. I think you've had it lucky being in the sheltered bit down there.
Yeah. It's a wee bit annoying though. I'd really like to get my drone up. There's a nice waterfall down there that it looks a heck of a scramble in some really bad mud down a pretty steep slope to get to, and I'm not sure that I'm really willing to get that muddy today, but I wouldn't mind getting the drone to it, but the wind's maybe put me off a wee bit.
Yeah, same with me. I was hoping to get the up at Balgrey Reservoir around there because it's quite nice, but again very windy, so maybe we won't get those shots in today, but still been a relatively pleasant walk, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty popular. There's a lot of people up here, a lot of families kicking about, and you know, even cyclists as well. I think we've maybe both cycled this route in the past at separate times, and actually fell off my bike up there for the first time ever a few weeks back.
Hopefully it wasn't too bad.
Nah, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't sore. Thankfully there was a nice grass verge to to brace my fall.
Aye.
But I think what we're probably going to do, go our separate ways now and head back to the start points.
Yeah, we've met our objectives, said hello to each other, and now it's time to say bye-bye to each other.
See you later.
Have a good one.